A bit similar to how we dance as well. contact you with a ghost. Yes, you can never ask an answer. Are you sure? Are you convinced? There is no place for we are like I meant I wanted to say or in my understanding exactly that this stinky sentence was not said by the ghost, but by a soul, Marcellus. But it's Shakespeare, after all. Quite a busy and powerful influencer. Still more. So, how do you feel about it? Isn't it embarrassing? Can you still smell it? Aren't you worried that the annoying smell is still here? Just you cannot smell it anymore. Or can you free yourself and get rid of the stigma? I know. It's not more than a metaphor. I doubt that Shakespeare ever visited. Where do you come from? Anita, where do you come from?
Where you come from? Everywhere.
Everywhere. And you? And you? Where do you come from?
From here,
Minnesota. And you? Where do you come from?
Germany.
Germany. And you, Alexis?
Brooklyn via Barcelona via
Barcelona. By Denmark. Shakespeare, he could have chosen any other state of the East. sovereignty and immigration. They wanted to be independent of the EU. So for 2 years now, they have been exposed to gravity. Because we depend on so many more things. Alexander Lebedyev. And since this label disappeared from the banner, correctly so. Because Lebedev used to be an agent of the KGB, and later of its successor, the Foreign Intelligence Service of Russia. He used the diplomatic cover of an economic attaché, and he was based at the Russian embassy in London. Later, he became vice chairman of the Duma's committee of the Commonwealth of the Independent States. Not the British one, of course. Still, quite an extensive scope of interest. At the same time, when Lebedev bought the Independent, he founded and became president of the National Investment Council, a non-political and non-governmental organization working to improve the investment sentiments in Russia, protecting interests of Russian businesses abroad, and fighting the negative sentiment towards Russian businesses. And he was doing his job quite well. On a Saturday, after David Cameron announced the date of the Brexit referendum in his speech, the last printed edition of The Independent was published, keeping only its digital edition. In the cyberspace, lost more sense of independence. But going cyber, it's like buying a ticket to a public spa. You get undressed. You put all your belongings, clothes, and valuables in the locker. And there you stand naked with a key that you can't keep anywhere. To your fortune, your privacy, your perversions, and your existence. You wouldn't want to lose all that. By putting on your swimming cap and maybe plunging into water or steam, you lose even your sex. And still, you are being watched. With eagle eyes. Objectified and classified by marketing more rigorously than Caroline Slini from Sweden ever could have imagined. So what will you do? idea about it is rounded up in one article. But the reason of life that doesn't require any meaning can be tracked as well very easily in cyberspace. Because it's our curiosity. Pieces of information that are searching for you. Do you wonder if it's a Once people in power realize this, they will definitely put a special tax on the internet too. They do it on every product that is addictive, like drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, etc. When our government decided to simply tax the internet access. access to information free of charge in the autumn of 2014. The protesters went to the bridge in the evening and held up their mobile phones, flashing their lights, so that it could be seen even from the airplanes crossing Pradesh. This way, I also became a spectator, not knowing what was going on. After landing in Budapest, I followed as usual the green channel at the airport with the sign, "Nothing to declare." I did so, despite having declared every year that I am an independent artist. In order to get my annual subsidy. Ta-da! Independence has been granted. Cool, isn't it? In an independent state, what are the expectations towards an independent choreographer? To demonstrate his or her independence through artistic freedom. But the interesting thing is that 15 years ago, the list of the independent performing artists was written with white ink on white paper. So nobody could see them. But the state propaganda declared that they are to carve a moral sculpture. So the independents were independent from the other independents, and this entire mass became a chaotic microcosmos in our expanded universe. Until our nation cried for its master, Viktor Orbán, by realizing that even the individual brain cells started working independently. And our good shepherd Viktor hasn't hesitated, saying, first, he established a system of national cooperation. Next, turn on the radios. After that, eliminated the newspapers. And now has dictated all the content published by the one and only leader state news agency. And now he's making serious efforts to extend his control over the internet. Once we live in an information society, I suspect that all these efforts aiming to dominate the content inaugurate a dictator by creating on the other end the flock of defendants. Do you know the story when Hungary declared war on the US back in 1941? Was the ambassador of Hungary who entered the State Department in Washington, D.C. The U.S. minister, well informed anyways. What is the form of state of your country? The ambassador. Kirton. We don't have a king, but a governor. Who is this governor then? Knight Miklos Horthy, Admiral. So, you have a seat? No, sir. We have not. I see. Territorial claim towards the U.S.? No, sir, we haven't. And do you have a territorial claim towards any country? Sure, sir. Towards Austria, Czechoslovakia, Romania? I see. So you must be at war with them. No, sir. We are allied with them. This story reminds me of that green channel at the airport with the sign. Nothing to declare. They might have had a lot to say, but nothing to declare, I'm sure. But the declaration is an intellectual product. And if it's not the case, then it's nothing else then. Thus my yearly declared independence started to mean something very different now than 12 years ago or 15 years ago. The list of the independent performing artists is still printed in white ink. But the paper now is turning black. May I choose that green channel? Mythology is much more colorful. I love it. Do you know the story of Europa? Zeus has been lusting for Europa. So he seduced her in the form of a wondrous book. Do you remember? Well, supposedly it happened quite a long time ago. Europa gave in to temptation and walked after him into the sea. So he swam with her all the way to the island of Crete. Once they touched land, Zeus transformed into an eagle and raped Europa. Size matters. After all, at least that we learned. So we are at the roots of Me Too movement, as well as of Greek mythology at the same time. We can easily track how the story has continued. And the Austro-Hungarian Empire, then the Russian Empire, each had a coat of arms showing the two-headed eagle as flag motif, except the French. I mean, except the period when France wanted to mount Europe. Bonaparte hired the eagle and took over the good or the best part. To be continued. Yes, I'm from Budapest, Hungary. Its name comes from hung, because it has always hung on some empire. The Turkish Ottoman, the Austrian Habsburg, and the Bolshevik Soviet. Ukraine in between. And you know what does Putin think Ukraine is? It's the flash through which he cranes his hungry prick into the EU. You shouldn't say what I was, if so. Which is your favorite war? Yes, your Star War. Good freedom fighters are melting your heart from behind the screen. Are there any others? They are always from the separatist side. But I always ask myself, what's the difference between freedom and independence? Freedom is referred by those released from prison, while independence has the right to defend itself before justice. Which one you think is the hottest war of this summer? It's been a hot one indeed. And I was threatened by the movies with the cute characters in white face. The kind-hearted innocent facing the bully or the demonic. You know right away who the good guy is. As if you woke up in an apartment at dawn in Kyiv, realizing that the next block is already being bombed. And you wouldn't tell the reporters back. I'm guilty. And none of us would think you are. You will just run. And we run with the refugees because we prefer wars that are safe. Those we can still have an impact on, that goes beyond watching the news. Because we prefer to stand up for in order to broaden our horizon and to democratize this reality show. seem to depend. Because it's in the media, and mostly black and white narratives that decide what are the odds to enjoy.
welcome on stage the author of All the Miserables of Europe, the world-famous statesman, Victor Hugo! And don't hold back the applause.